Ladies, I don't know if you're like me, but I like my conversations like I like my drinks. Straight, no chaser. Is that job killing your soul? Well, it's time to leave that cubicle farm and dump that job like a bad ex-boyfriend and leap into entrepreneurship full time. I am Linda Otterbridge, your host of the No Plan B Entrepreneur Podcast, where I interview fierce lady bosses who have pursued their dreams and did so without a safety net. Welcome to the No Plan B Entrepreneur Podcast. Well, hello. We are back. Welcome to the No Plan B Entrepreneur Straight No Chaser podcast show. Our guest today, you are going to love this guest today. I have had the opportunity to meet Miss Crystal Tolbert in one of my platforms, Sister Says Speaker Series, a takeover speaker series. So I've had the opportunity to meet Crystal as she was one of our Sister Says guest speakers. And I can tell you, we did not want her to go past that 30. Well, we wanted her to go past that 30 minutes and go on to an hour because she was on fire. So I have to say, fire, fire, fire. So again, I just have to share that I'm just so excited and delighted to have her.
Thank you.
So yes, welcome, Crystal. So glad you're here.
Linda, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be on. I'm so excited. I had such a good time on our last time. So I'm glad that we're able to do it today and just talk from a different perspective. So thank you for this opportunity. It's exciting, especially what we're talking about. I'm really excited about it. I'm very passionate about it. So thank
when
you.
you got off, girl, I said, oh no, I gotta have her back. I said, are you a No Plan entrepreneur? I said, you a No Plan B entrepreneur? Because I gotta have you as a guest on my show. When you said yes, I was like, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well,
thank you for the opportunity to be here.
I am just so glad we can finally get this started. Now, you know we may go over 30 minutes, but we'll try not to. But for the people who are listening, we'll try not to, but we can't assure you it won't happen. So we can't guarantee it won't happen. So what I'm going to do first is read your bio. So I'm going to read Crystal's bio, and we can start with the questions from there. God, I'm just so excited. So excited.
Me too.
Let's talk about Crystal. Crystal Tolbert is an empowerment speaker, prophetic life coach, and accomplished author. Her latest book, From the Eyes of the Prophet, is groundbreaking, transformational, and empowering. Although Crystal is a kingdom leader, she understands that she's first a woman. She has a big heart that loves to serve women. Her mission and responsibility is to create a platform to help change the mindset, impact, lead, and prepare women, whom she affectionately refers to as jewels, for their own legacy platform. Her desire is that all women can walk in complete greatness in the kingdom. Wow, now that's a lot. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you. Linda, thank you so much. You're so sweet.
You have so much you're doing for women in the kingdom, and it's just a lot. I just reading that, it's like, wow. Now I really can't wait to hear what you have to say today. So we're going to get started for you telling us what you have going on about your book and your business and all the above.
Well, first of all, with everything, again, thank you for this opportunity to be on, to speak to your viewers and just give them some insight, I'm so sorry, excuse me, on what it takes to have this. First thing I did, my book I have From the Eyes of a Prophet, Scribe Your Way to Destiny, which this is part of my journey for entrepreneurship, because I had to seek God, I had to write, and I had to believe in the things that God gave me for my exit to my platform. So during this process of writing the book, God was preparing me to be an entrepreneur. And so what I'm doing now, I just took from the marketplace of what I did, because I did corporate training, and now I'm doing it for the kingdom from a different perspective. And I'm actually, June 8th, I'm starting a 4-week course, Capturing Your Purpose. And it is really to help women who are tired of having everything as far as the resources, but do not have the confidence to live out their purpose, whether it's based on because the insecurities, rejection, because they're not healed, don't feel like they're good enough, even though they have the credentials. Maybe they feel like they can't take the time for them. I'm going to give you the strategy to get to not just seeing your purpose or looking at it, but living in purpose.
Oh, I love it.
And so it's a 4-week, and I'm excited because I've mentored women, I've coached women in corporate and in personal and in the kingdom. You know, as far as like at church, I've had things over the years, and what I learned is that we have a lot of very, very prominent professional women that are broken.
Oh,
but
girl.
they hide behind all of their success. And what it does, it causes them to be mean and bitter because they're not living out purpose. We got to understand something. Just because we're gifted in it, that does not mean that's our purpose.
Right.
And so that goes back to because we're good as entrepreneurs. So I do that. As of course, I'm a co-pastor, but I am a pastor. My husband is a senior pastor. Just had a daughter that graduated from high school.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So you said it, it's been a lot, especially when your life has completely shifted and being an entrepreneur. Right now, I had 5 events, paid events canceled.
Oh my goodness.
That's how I suffice. It's because I am an entrepreneur, so I have to use my gift of what God gave me to teach and speak on the platforms.
Right.
All of that had to shut down. And that's the reason why I created Capture Your Purpose, because I always wanted to do it. But I was using what I had instead of what I was purposed to do. But now God shut everything down so that I can do what he always desired me to do. And he still got glory. Because
stop.
When we do our purpose.
Yes, yes. God be like, oh, whatever plan you got, I already got it. Just you can go ahead on what you think you want to do, but I already got your plan for you.
Yes.
Girl, I knew. I said, this interview is going to be one that is going to be like, as they say.
I'm grateful and I'm excited.
I already do it. Now, tell me, we talked a little bit about this before you came on, and you touched on a little bit. But I'm curious to know, how did you get to this? At what point did you take that leap into full-time entrepreneurship?
The crazy thing is that what made me do it, I didn't have an option from God anymore. And he had already spoke to me, and he made things so uncomfortable that I had no choice. He made it overwhelming to the point where I was having felt like panic attacks, and I would sit at my desk and I would be so frustrated because I was comfortable. I was good at what I did, but I knew my purpose was calling me. And I struggled in that because it was more than just preaching on Sunday, teaching on Tuesday night. And I knew that. And God made it so uncomfortable. He said, until you do what I tell you to do, I'm going to make it like this. So we ended up getting downsized at my job, in my department. And I was doing 3 people's job. He said, I told you.
Girl, you sound like you're telling my story.
He allowed me to survive to be there and have to do all of that. He said, until you do what I told you to do, you are going to suffer. Basically, that's what it was. And so I was scared to ask my husband because we had just purchased a home. I'm the owner on the home. He's the co-owner. So that was something else. It's like, okay, this is really serious. And the first time that I was an entrepreneur, I was single. So I didn't have to ask anybody else.
Right.
If I failed, it was different because I didn't have to prove anything to nobody else. When you're in covenant relationship with somebody, it's not just you.
Yes.
And so I believe and I honor biblical, practical principles. But my husband is an alpha male. He's a pastor, but when it comes to that, there's 2 separate people.
Right.
And so God made provision. He kept on. He said, you got to. And I was talking to my best friend. She said, I just believe Pastor is going to say yes. And he did. This was almost 3 months later. But I was already working the things because I knew that it was my time was coming.
Right.
And I even talk about that in my book, my exit to my platform, whatever your platform may be.
My goodness.
You have to begin to start doing the things.
Yes.
Even though I didn't know how I was going to get it done, but I knew God's voice. So I started making preparation in the process.
Did you say making preparation? Let me get this down.
Yes, making
Y'all better
preparation in
listen.
the process.
Making preparation in the process. Okay, I'm sorry.
Because you're asking for provision, but God say before you get provision, you already have the vision. But you are fearful and you won't act upon what I've already spoken to you. You're waiting on something when God's like, no, do what I've already told you. Do what you already know. Well, he told me I'm getting ready to leave corporate. Just like I had been in my job for 3 years. God had told me, he said, this is your last corporate job. And you know how you try to ignore God or whatever? He said, I'm doing this for you because I didn't want to just be known as a pastor's wife. I didn't want to just be known as a mommy.
Right.
Because I was so much more than that before in previous time. And I needed that because I'm like, I want them to know me. I didn't want to lose me. I wanted them to remember me for who I am. And they strive for their own legacy.
Right.
And so he did it for me. And God reminded me, he said, I told you this was your last job. You know, and so that's why I never put anything on my desk. I never put pictures.
Girl, if you say one more thing, it took me 3 years to put something on my desk because of that. Go ahead.
Because he had said it. And normally I love to decorate. I'm all about decor and stuff like that. But why would I do something when I already knew my purpose therein?
Yes.
And so finally when I did, I told my husband, he actually said yes. He said, if God told you, then I'm fine. But
look at that.
I made preparation anyway. I already had what I needed, even for him. He didn't know it. My credit cards, when I left corporate America, I didn't even have no more than maybe $1,500 on a credit card.
Wow.
But I had almost $10,000 worth of credit. Because I was working. I already knew. And God forbid, if anything happened, I need credit to rely on. I can at least have something to keep me afloat if something happens in the meantime. See, that's the thing. We want to get to purpose, but in the meantime, what are you doing to get to your purpose? And so I was working what God said, even when I didn't see how he was going to do it. But I was using what he gave me. And I applied it. And so and I couldn't tell nobody. Only the closest people knew, maybe 3 or 4 people. I'm a pastor, nobody. You can't share it with everybody.
How did you hide that?
What God gave you. You know what? Because I worked, just like I worked.
Right.
See, you work harder for yourself. See, this is the thing. People you have to submit to the gift inside of you. If you work hard 8 to 5 for somebody else and expect a check, why don't you expect to do it for yourself? And not only this is what I want to tell those, lead the right way. I always told people since my 20s, I'm not just working for man, I'm working for God.
Right.
And so people, when they put in their 2-week notice, they get lazy. No, I made it comfortable and better for the next person. Even though I created certain things, I allowed them to walk in with favor, but I was honoring God because just because he has finally gave me my exit, I can't afford to mess up with God. And we have to realize that if I was cheating them, God said, well, what do you think about you?
Exactly.
What you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. And so by the grace of God, I have never lacked anything. But I had to do what God said. I had to seek him first. I don't care what you do. Matthew 6:33, I live by that because if you seek God, God will give you the access to what you need. You don't even realize you have the resources because you're operating from a place of fear where you don't reach out to God, and you get frustrated in your process for purpose because you are not doing the things that are necessary that he needs you to do because you didn't seek him.
Ooh. Write it down, Matthew.
He should be
33.
your brand strategist before you get one.
Y'all heard what
And
she
we will
said.
seek everybody else instead of seeking God. And God is saying, but that's why it's not working. You're not seeking me.
Yes.
I already gave you this idea to be who you are. And I had stuff for years that was in me. But I kept on, some days with tears in my eyes, I would be frustrated because I was like, God, when is it my turn? I said, because God, I'm doing the work. But I had to learn to not even worry about that because God was healing me of rejection in the process. I just did it. I don't know when it's going to happen, God. But because I believe you, even though I'm frustrated, I'm going to still do what it takes because you can't get to your purpose unprepared.
Yes.
And that's why you never see purpose defined in your life because you're so busy trying to get there, but you ain't got nothing for the platform.
Girl, I tell y'all this is going to be a show. I told you before we started. She fire. Y'all ready to
what
play
are
with
you
some
gonna
fire?
do?
Ooh,
what are you gonna do when he gives you the voice to the masses?
Yes. What are you gonna do?
I invested in my website. I prepared for where I'm called to, not in the beginning of where I was gonna start at. You gotta see yourself.
Say that again,
you gotta
Crystal.
be your first product. I invested in myself for where I knew I was called to, not where I started at. Meaning, I reached out. I wanted the website that would represent me.
Right.
As a kingdom person, we will invest in nonsense and won't invest in things that will draw people in. How are they going to believe in the kingdom? That's why the world is winning and the church is lacking because we'll give God's people anything. It's still market. How are you going to draw in a non-believer and you're basic and you don't work what God gave you? It's still the same. You got to have practical with principle.
Hold on, let me write that down. Practical.
You got to have practical with, you got to, but you got to use that with principles that God give you. They go hand in hand. And so in that process, I was ready. See, when you do the work and you stop complaining about it and you get so focused on pleasing God just because he's giving it to you, sometimes that means you're going to wake up at 2 a.m. You got to text it to yourself. You might not be able to get out of bed.
That's what my husband does. He said, get up and text it to yourself. Yeah, get it later. Oh, my goodness.
And if you do it, I look back on things God said, see, you already had what you needed. Even now, what I did then was preparing me to talk to you now. I already had an exit strategy before I left. God gave me what to do before I left. And I worked it. I had already created it. Matter of fact, I created it 2 years before I left.
Look at that.
And the last day that I was there, it messed me up because God gave me a finale on what he promised years before. That's why it's so important that we write out what God has given us and stop keeping all of that in our minds. Because when you keep it in our mind, distractions come and it'll take your gift and creativity that God gave you. That's why you got writer's block. That's why you have that block.
Right.
You got to write out when it's time. How important is it for you to be successful as an entrepreneur? You're so fearful that you're going to fail, but you miss the tools that are essential for you to survive. Because I say it, everything by the grace of God, even in the pandemic, God has allowed me to thrive. But see, God told me, he said in the beginning, the Lord told me in November when I left my job, he said, I'm going to always bless your storehouse. But I said, God, do it. I asked God in a humble way. I said, God, do it for your glory. I said, because if I fail, it's not just for me. It's because I said, you told me to do that. And that is when you're dealing with people need to see numbers. When you're dealing with intellectual people, people that are not spiritual, they don't want to hear all that.
I want some numbers.
They don't care about that. By the grace of God, I have been able to talk to very elite professional men. They're like, how are you doing this? God allowed me to manifest what I desired, my car that I wanted in a process of not having a job for a year, and I automatically got approved.
Look at that.
For what I desired, not what I wanted.
What you desired.
out of obedience. See, those are the things we miss. And we can't have zeal. You got to know when it's God and then when it's your zeal, because in your zeal you get frustrated and you move out of alignment with God.
Did you say you? Now, I gotta get another page. Hold on. Did I miss? You can't have zeal.
People are hyped. That's why I'm not impressed by people's words. It's your action, because that's why you see so many success stories crash after one story. I'm ready for my next. I got work that I wrote out in a painful place, in a place of unknown and hurt that God is allowing to manifest now.
Right.
Because you got to understand, when you're called to entrepreneurship, you got to do it even in pain. You gotta do purpose in pain. You got to do purpose when death. You got to do purpose when you're sick. You got to do purpose in a pandemic.
Girl, and
because
you
when
know,
you're called to it and you're hearing God,
yes,
even in that, when you know how important and valuable what God gave you,
right,
you won't fail when you keep on and sacrifice.
Y'all know we ain't getting through this 30-minute interview because Crystal is not playing, people. Now, y'all can finish this interview up. You can listen to this podcast show and just be ready to just take in a box on the word. Or if you're already laid off, you can just make it easy. Don't go back if they call you. But after this show, I can assure you, you will have to make a decision. You will be at that crossroad trying to decide which way to go. Because what Crystal's saying is on the mark. Because I can tell you, everything she's saying is me. Mm-hmm. And I can assure you there's probably a lot of people who are listening as well. Mm-hmm. And I think we do have to decide. That crossroad is there. We have to decide which way we're going. And that thing what you're saying is, yeah, we'll make it uncomfortable. You already got a path drawn out, written out. We just got to walk it and get, release the fear.
See, the problem with us is that we've already built careers.
Ooh, yes.
And so it's really hard when you're dealing with people that have already went up the ladder.
Right.
And so when I used to do training classes, and I worked at the corporate office for, we have a place it's called Care Now. We're all over, but it's urgent care. Mm-hmm. So I'm teaching strategies and stuff on soft skills to nurses and doctors.
Yes. Oh.
You got to learn how to talk to your audience. Mm-hmm. So when I'm dealing with intellectual people, they're like, what? But that's why it's God's glory. That's why you got to always do it for his glory, because you'll bring somebody in to believe in God and the glory of him by you being obedient and seeking him.
Right.
So I have people that are intellectual, because those are people, they're like, you did what? See, when you do it God's way, he will show the unbeliever how to want to believe.
Yes.
Because they've already taken the principles of the Bible, right, and they make them practical in the world. And that's why they have the success, because God's word, he reigns on the just and the just, right?
Right.
So don't get mad when they take what was yours because you won't apply the tools out of pride.
Right.
And
right.
out of fear, and out of, because you don't want to leave what's comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I hear you on that one. And I'm sure a lot of the people on here understand.
Many of us are so
ready.
sad.
Oh, well.
We're comfortable. But you cannot be an entrepreneur and not be a risk taker. Risk taker in God.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Hold on. Wait. Okay.
Risk taker in God. And write out what God is saying. Why do everybody do vision boards? Why do they do this? They're taking the same things. You have so many coaches, so many people that are not spiritual, living the life that you were called to. You sit up there and you're sad. You only do it because you feel like you have to do it, and your purpose is dying.
Right.
When you're not living in purpose as an entrepreneur every day of your life, it does not matter your success. You're sadly bitter and disappointed in yourself. And the accolades from other people don't matter because you know what you're called to.
Right. Girl, don't make me end this podcast right now. I'm going to have to end this podcast right now and go run and do something. Because this It's more than a word. This is like, I just think that if people are not download, subscribing, whatever after this show, they want to get this one. They want to download this one because what you're saying, they're gonna have to hear more than one time. They're gonna hear the
Yes.
message more than one time to just
Yes.
get it. Because I'm writing notes, and I know I'm gonna have to go back over it when I do my show notes after and write some more stuff down because I'm listening, but I know I'm at a time clock too. I can't get into it how I want to. But it's moving me in a way that, yeah, I'm gonna have to really go through when I get off of here and go through these notes because you're still touching on some points in my
But Linda,
personal life.
can I tell you something? But can I tell you something to make you smile?
Mhm.
Even in our gift, we got to be intentional and
Right.
not convert.
Yes.
And this is because of social media. We'll hear God's voice or he'll show us, maybe God don't talk to you like that. He might in a TV show or billboard or whatever. And we will ignore it and do what everybody else is doing. God is like, you got to be intentional to continue to follow me.
Right. Right.
Because what works for them is not going to work for you because I designed this for you. I already have what you need.
Right.
So we always like even for your podcast, who is God saying? See, we'll get big names and people are get people just by their name and won't have nobody in the audience. Why? Because God didn't tell you to do that. He might have told you to get a no name. The no name, God might have it lined up with you that you're the person that catapults the no name into the major person.
Right.
But because you won't do what God says, you're going to get who you think everybody wants and you won't have no success. You got to stay in the plan of God.
Yes.
And for the first time as an entrepreneur, this is the thing. And I say this with humility and people see the glitz and glam and they see the branding, but they don't see the suffering. And I believe if I'm going to minister, even if I'm not in a pulpit and I'm called to minister to your life and help you, I need to be transparent. There are nights that you're going to feel like, God, help me.
Yes.
Because this is real. My children are relying on me, God. I don't want my husband, I don't want to hear, I told you so, because I'm doing this for you guys.
Yes, yes.
I'm transparent because that's why people are looking at people thinking it's easy. No. I had sleepless nights. I have a little child. I am a pastor. I have congregation that needs me. Then then it's right before Christmas, Thanksgiving. But what God said, because my director told me, my husband told me, he said, she's going to ask you to stay. And she was a Christian woman. And she said, I know you're not going to be back. She said, but you can always come back. She said, but I know you're not. God will make it, even with somebody that might not like you, even though I had a good relationship, he will make them honor what he put in you when you do it the right way.
There you go. Oh,
and God,
I love it.
Because of it, I didn't fail. And because of it, and I never stopped doing what I was called to do in the process. See, if God distracts you to do something else, don't try to make it up and do something and get common like everybody else. Stay to your gift that God gave you.
Yes, that is so true. Yes.
Because it could be one thing. And I'll say this is what I wanted to share for you and everybody. And I say this. Don't leave yourself in a place that, you know what, I'll do, it'll work. No, you put a demand on what God told you. No, there's no, it's going to work. Because when God says it, it has to happen.
Put a demand on what God told you.
Mine was, but God, you said. And so when the pandemic happened, I said, God, I remember when you told me. I said, God, you said that we wouldn't have a storehouse be empty. And so even when I finally shared, nobody knew for over a year, almost 14 months, all
Oh my
hell broke
goodness.
loose.
Ooh, I bet it did.
The devil started really messing with my finances. I was able to do what I wrote out, and that was completely pay off my debt.
Mm-hmm.
I had no credit card. I had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I made, God allowed me to pay myself out, but I wrote it out like that. See, you got to write out what you believe God to do, even when it don't make sense to nobody.
Right. Write it out.
And that was a thing. And I was like, I said, but you know what, God, that's okay. Because whenever you acknowledge what you are, you know you're going to have opposition in it,
Right.
because the enemy tries to take what God has already given you. He was already doing that by making you stay at your job. And so, but I said, you know what? It's okay. I said, because even if I had to go back, this is how you trick the enemy. I said, God, you already did more than enough, that I was able to do what I needed to do in a year, and we were blessed more. We traveled more.
Oh,
Doors
look
opened
at that.
for me and my husband. I traveled more last year than I ever traveled when I used to have to do for my job. And I was doing the work of God. But it was the sacrifice in believing in God's word
Right.
versus my fear.
Girl,
So
girl.
I confused the devil in January, but I said, well, you know what?
You
Even if I
confused the
did have to
devil.
go back, I was able to pay mortgage
Right.
on one salary. And my husband made under 50,000.
Look at that.
And we never missed anything and never had to ask for extension on anything. God said he would provide. He would give you milk and honey and the land. But I also use wisdom.
Right.
I stayed in my means. I used my gift and I sowed into other people. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you got to be your best client. You don't stop sowing into other people. You don't stop serving. You still got to serve even when you're trying to find a way for you. You got to serve and bless people by your voice, by your work. Still pay it forward to somebody else.
Yes.
Because that's how you know that you can handle working for yourself. You're letting God know, you know what? Even when I might have needed something for my business,
Right.
if God told me I would invest in somebody else, I would purchase a book while I'm trying to write my book and needed
Girl,
money to
stop it.
my book.
Stop it. I just did that whole live about all the stuff I purchased for people. People like, I thought you were laid off. I am laid off. But there's also some businesses out here that need to be supported as well. So I started buying from all kinds of people. It's like, I'm laid off. I'm not worried about it. It'll come back. I'm not worried about it. And people are like, why are you doing all that when you're laid off?
Others, yes, God will make happen for you.
Oh my goodness. As soon as you said that, I thought about that. All the, why are you doing that when you laid off work? Is that something of what? You still have to
But that's
serve.
those distractions that can hinder you and say, you know what? I'm not leaving my job. I'm not going.
My goodness.
I'm going back. I ain't gonna focus on what God has put in my table. I'm gonna go back to what I was suffering in silence here.
Stop it. You know what? I'm gonna go back to what I was. You know what? I can't mess with you. I should have known when we started. Girl, I love it. I'm gonna go back to it and suffer in.
When he gave you a way to escape.
And
if you really wanted to, at least
breathe,
you would have
Linda.
something to, you got it so good because you're going to get more because of what is going on right now. So God is saying, well, at least you would have 6 months to have more than enough to keep you if things didn't move.
Exactly. Yep. Blessings all over the map. Blessings everywhere. And you know.
But my transparent moment was for me to share with you and your listeners. When I left, I didn't have a savings account.
Look at that.
And I hadn't had one in a couple of years because I went through a divorce. So I had to start all over again. I had to start all over again. And what blessed me is that when I left, I had a savings account. That money is still there that I put in there the same month that I left, and I've never touched it by the grace of God. My daughter just graduated, just spent a lot of money. This has been a crazy season.
Wow.
But God supplied.
Didn't have to touch it. Look at that.
And I still, because I did what God said.
Girl.
Because I was like, God, I don't want to live from a place of fear. I want to live in a place of faith and freedom.
Mm, mm, mm.
Those are the things that you do. You do things that even if it's there, even if you had $50,000,
right.
You put something back, you can find ways to downsize what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And see, when we go with God, he'll give you a way. Look at what you did in corporate. Use that. Use your niche. You still got connections with people. You still know, but if you're nice to people, you got people that will do stuff for you.
That's true.
That are not, because most people that are in IT, most people do websites, they do awesome. You have everything you need.
And that is
true. You got to open your mouth and see, you got to know who to let people know where you're at and who not to.
Exactly. Oh, girl. I don't know where you guys at with this podcast, listeners, but I hope you are listening right down and following up, because again, you can't sleep on this. Do not sleep on Miss Crystal. Do not sleep on everything.
Thank you.
So I'm letting you know. Do something with this. Don't just listen. Do something with this, people, because this is real. And transparent moments are transparent moments for a reason. She didn't have to share that. She chose to share it here. So do something with it. She entrusted it with you. Do something with it. So I don't even know. I don't even want to go through the rest of my questions because you've covered so much. You talked about the strategies you took, you put in place, how you prepared. And I told you when we started talking about this, I don't want to go by the questions depending on what you share. So a lot of this stuff, you have answered the benefits of it, serving and blessing people, strategies you put in place. I do have to ask, do you miss that 9 to 5?
You know what?
Do you
and can I be honest with you?
Yes.
Can I be honest? No, I don't. Because
I was wondering.
And let me tell you why. Because I'm a worshiper. And I love worship music. And I love to pray to God. And I love to hear, and I love to journal. So I put God first. And so now it might be more work, but I'm able to do what I'm called to do. And I ask God, God, help me have balance, especially for the last 2 months. Because as an entrepreneur and having a little kid, I don't have anybody to watch my son. I can't, those are the things, you know, but God, I said, God, give me balance. Because this is hard, because I've still got to produce for my family while I'm helping and assisting those others. I've had a lot of sleepless nights. This was serious for me. I didn't do a lot of branding in the process. See, you got to know when it's God. But when I tell you, and I will not cry, but I'm so passionate about helping people, because I know that if you do what God says, he'll open up. I didn't miss anything because I was doing what God told me to do. And I said, God, I can't brand right now when I have members of our church that are losing loved ones dealing with COVID-19. I don't want to talk about branding right now because I need people to know that I care. Is your brand more important, or is it what God called you to more important? God will meet every other need. And because of that, God will send opportunities. He will open up doors. He will send things for you by being obedient. Don't worry about it. If you got to sacrifice from what you're called to, if God called you to do something out of what you're doing, he's going to give you provision. He's going to give you, and he'll make up what you think you're going to lack.
Girl, and I know I got favor. I tell people all the time, I got favor. I don't even worry about it. I have favor. I don't worry about it. People don't understand why I don't have to worry, because it's happened so many times for me. Things just have fallen. God has just made it so easy for me that I don't worry. And I know I'm favored. So that's why, because my husband like, you don't worry about this, you don't stress. Nope.
But it's a disservice to God, and we don't talk about that, because if God put it in you and you're doing what God told you, he already has the answer. Everything
Yes.
you need. We live in fear when we're not seeking God, and we all do it. And most entrepreneurs are very intellectual people. Those are the ones he's really calling to kingdom entrepreneurship, because he's ready to transfer the wealth that everybody's posting about. Well,
Yes.
he needs hands that can handle the wealth. See, I've always known I was called to wealth, but there are seasons to getting to it. And I never asked God to be rich. I asked God for wisdom. And that's why I love Solomon. Because I knew I'm called to teach and empower people and transform their lives. I don't want to hurt anybody. We got too many life coaches. We got too many people in whatever. They're doing it for a platform, but they're not doing it for their heart.
Right.
I don't have to advertise my brand for God to make it up somewhere else. Because I'm doing what the Lord led in my spirit to do on your show, God will open up other doors. But there was a need for your listeners. There was a need. We need more people that will be honest.
Right.
Then people will live in who they're called to be.
Yes.
But we make it so pretty when it's ugly. Can you serve when you don't have nothing else to serve? Can you serve in affliction in your entrepreneurship? Can you do it pleasant? See, we got a lot of people now, those that go to church. What do you do now when you can't go to church? Many people, church was their kryptonite.
I know you're getting ready to say it.
And not God. And so now they didn't know what to do. Well, see, you wasn't spending time with God before in private.
Going
because
for the wrong
I don't
thing.
need a building to worship what I do every day.
Exactly.
When it's in you,
girl,
you don't need nobody to speak a word into you.
Right.
Because you'll go and God will show you a sign from somebody that I just want to send you this word. Let me send you a hug, because you already are in alignment with God. Not your Bible, not the church building, not your accountability partners, but God. What if you don't have anybody? Like me. My mother died when I was 13.
Oh, girl.
Everything that said I wouldn't do the things that I said I was called to do was against me, but God. And God wants to use people. I always tell people he wants to use the underdog. There's favor on the underdog. We never knew the woman's name with the issue of blood, but her legacy will live on. You never knew the man's name at the pool of Bethesda, but they're still preaching about him now. Let me tell you something. God messed me up, and I'll share this on my ending. God told me you don't have to have legacy when you die. He said, I want you to live in legacy. Beyonce lives in legacy.
Look at that.
Michelle Obama lives in legacy. Bill Gates live in legacy. Their legacy is already profound, and it's already blessing other legacies for other people.
Right.
What do you have in you?
Live in legacy.
Live in it. I talk about that. I talk about it in my book.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about your book more. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, these are the things. See, we limit God. God is, if we say, oh, so we'll limit him to the church, or we'll limit him to the things that the church has showed us. God said, I'm bigger than a church.
Exactly.
I'm bigger than a mansion. Y'all praying for mansions. I'm trying to give you ownership of land in other countries and continents. But you stereotype and put me in a box of what people have taught you versus getting to know me and getting intimate with me and seeking me. And I'm going to show you the hidden mysteries on how to have an empire.
Girl,
I don't want to start up
when
I was called to have an empire, because what I'm called to do is to bless others. So I want to be the person that write out the check and you never know me.
There
I
you
want to
go.
give the people the chance that felt like me, because God gave me that. I'm going to open it up for you. And when you have that kind of heart, you never have to worry about God making it up on the back end.
Look at that. Girl, you don't look. Yes, don't worry about it. Yeah, just do it. It's gonna be okay. hmm Okay, people. So right about now, you're probably thinking, you want more. I know you do, but that just means, as I normally say, when I have guests like Miss Crystal Tolbert, there will be a part two. She'll be back, and she will be back. And I have another
Okay.
sister says that she's coming back on as well, because once you get going, Crystal, it's just hard to just like not let you just go on, because I can sit here forever because I have a lot of notes and I know
Right.
we can talk on and
Right.
on. But I just know that everything you shared today, there were I try to keep it as simple as possible. It's conversational, not really interview style, because I just let people talk. So they'll talk, I let the
Right.
guests talk, and I'll get all the questions that way. A lot of them I don't have to go through. It's the guests that I have that don't talk that much. I have to have questions.
Right.
Didn't really need them for you, because I know when I met you the first time, I said, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
she'll just go and just share what
Hmm.
she needs to share, and it will cover what we need covered here. And I know that everything you shared right now is helping somebody as it's helping me.
I'm
So
grateful.
I this I don't even have to talk about anything else really, because well, the only thing I was wondering, I said I gotta ask people, do they really miss the 9 to 5? And I knew you were good. I just knew you weren't missing anything. You said no, don't miss it at all. But I am going to leave with, what one piece of advice would you give someone today to make their
Mhm.
next move?
If you listen to this podcast show today, if you listen to me and Linda, I don't need anything to say. I mean, literally, God is saying, what else do you need?
Mm.
Because this, what we discussed today, would only pull on those that know they're called to it.
Yes,
See,
yes.
it's the ones that can't sleep at night because they try to sleep and try to erase it. What do you do when your purpose is calling you? What do you do? See, this is only going to be for someone that says, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need anything to share with them on that, because you know it's for you.
Right.
You know when you step into a dress, ladies, you know, for the men that's listening, you know when you get the right shoe, you know when it fits.
Yes.
We know when a position we're called for. Even if we're not qualified, we know we got by resume, by paper, we
Mm-hmm.
know when it's ours.
Yes.
Why? Because it's something about the sound when we hear it or when we read it.
Mm.
So today, for that person, what God did today, you don't have to be a believer. You
Mm-mm.
hopefully when you heard God in the transparency, you would want to get to know God. So he still is working in the process. And I
Look at
was
that.
able to do what God called me to
Look
do.
at that.
And you were able to do what God called you to do. And you were blessed because the Lord was showing me in this, just like you wanting to help everybody else, God was giving you answers that you silently need
Look at
for you
that
to do what you're
girl.
called to do.
Yes, yes, and yes.
So for your listeners,
Oh.
do it unapologetically and
Mm.
do it in the confidence of God because he's already made it uncomfortable for you. What do you have right now for everyone that is listening and even for replay? We're in a pandemic. There are opportunities out there for some of us that started entrepreneurship didn't even have.
Mm.
You in the best. God told me, he said, those that will do the right thing and will survive and be obedient, they're going to thrive and they're
Yes.
going to do better. Because whenever it was a pandemic in the Bible, people that after it was over, they were greater.
Look at that.
Creation was made and things that should have been done before happened. It takes these type of situations for us to recognize what we already have. And so I challenge you,
Oh my goodness.
you betted on everything else. God is saying, why don't you bet on me?
Girl, that
So
challenge is
now's the
out there.
time.
The challenge is there. So you can't do anything with this. Thank you for that challenge. And now is the time. And you are so right with that, because I'm hearing stories of people like this suffering. They're not suffering. They're thriving through this. And they're like,
Yes,
how? They don't even know how. They just don't see it. Opportunities are
yes.
everywhere. If you can make it through this, you can make it anywhere. Like you say, we can't go with before the pandemic. We go with
We
now.
made it through
Made it
9/11.
through. Shut up. Yes. Yes. So
We,
the challenge is out there, people. You can make it
yes,
through. Do what you got
yes.
to do, make it through, and everything Crystal said today, take it and run with it. Do not sit on this. Do not just write some notes and put them away. She done told you to do something with it, write it down. And before we close, my last question for you, Crystal, is what's next for you? And please share your book so people can start scribing, and because after this, they're going to want to.
Oh, thank you. Linda, again, thank you for allowing me to be here today. Today was absolutely amazing. And I am just full right now because I have learned, I know my value and I know who I'm called
Yes.
to. So I don't just do podcasts. I don't just do any show. I do where God tell me to go because I want to impact and I know what is needed for me to do what I'm able to do and serve. And so
So glad you
my
chose to
book,
be our guest.
oh, I'm honored.
Oh,
It's a blessing to serve. It's
yes,
a
thank
blessing
you.
to serve. But my book is From the Eyes of a Prophet, Scribe
Mhm.
Your Way to Destiny. You can go to my website, which is www.crystaltolbert.com, and you can click on the link. Also, if any of the things that I talked about a little bit that I went into the 4-week course that I'm doing for capture your purpose, go
Mhm.
online and you can go to my website and you can go in detail of the things that I'm going to help you because you got to have biblical with practical and you got to heal.
Right.
You got to go to the seed of why you're not where you're called to be. And so I challenge you to go out there. Of course, I'm on Facebook at Crystal Tolbert.
Mhm.
You can find me on Facebook. And I also have a group where we have kingdom conversations where we do exactly what we're doing. It's a private group. It's for those of you that want to be transparent and not be judged. It's a
Mm.
place where Christian kingdom women can come and talk about practical things and not be embarrassed because it's not what is said on the pulpit and
Right.
you're safe. So it's ladies like me and you, Linda.
Oh,
So,
as y'all see, Crystal is not playing. She's everywhere.
um, I'm,
Everywhere. Did I miss anything? If I did interrupt you,
no,
I'm sorry about that.
no, it's okay.
Crystal is everywhere. I will have her information also in the show notes. So I make sure I put show notes up. Show notes will be some little snippets, quotes, and she have a lot of great things. So it'll be a lot in her show notes. So just to highlight of the show, I'll have her links, everything in the show notes, her bio, everything. So you'll get to see that as well. So you won't miss anything. But yeah, I do have everything. It'll be in the show notes for where to find Crystal. Please follow up with her. Don't just let this listen be a last listen on a podcast show. It's up to you to take the challenge, up to you to make sure you follow up with Crystal and get the book, start journaling, get describing, do what you need to do to make your next move out or not return, whichever one works for you. Um, and that's it. We know where to find you, Crystal. Thank you, thank you, thank
Linda,
you
thank you. Thank you.
for
I'm so
being a
glad that
guest.
we met.
Oh
We
my
hooked a
God.
sister up. But see what you do,
Oh,
it matches. See?
hmm
So God gave you what you're doing for many people,
yes.
friend people, and
Hooking
you do
up,
it.
connecting,
And I
and
want you
just
as we close. Thank you. Thank you for celebrating other people that do exactly what you're called to. That's how you know that you're ready for where you're going.
look at that. Boy,
Mhm.
did I need, thank you, Crystal.
You're
Boy, did I
welcome.
need everything you said today. Sometimes you just need to hear it. You
Yes.
get so caught up in doing that you just
Yes.
forget what you're really just
Yes.
forget. So I just need to hear that. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you again for
welcome.
being our guest. Thanks for sharing your journey. Thanks for being transparent. And everyone, please follow Crystal. Until then, be safe, be blessed, and be prosperous. This is the No Plan B Entrepreneur Straight No Chaser podcast show. We'll see you then. Or should I say we'll see you next
Bye.
time? See you
Bye.
later.